General Hospital spoilers for the next 2 weeks, July 28th to August 8th, state that Willow Tate will make a vow while Nina Reeves plans a surprise relocation. Jason Morgan will also require Elizabeth Baldwin's assistance with his Britt Westbourne quest, so let's discuss what's ahead. During the week of July 28th to August 1st, Jocelyn Jacks will receive new orders from Jack Brennan. While Carly Spencer is concerned that Jason would dig up Britt's grave, Jason may consider it, but he'll first interrogate Liesl Obrecht and make a request of Liz. Elizabeth might be able to leverage her medical connections to acquire Jason more Britt-related information, so we'll see if she comes through on his request. Jason appears to be continuing his investigation into what transpired after Britt's death, in order to prove she is still alive. Jason will eventually tell Anna Devane about his airport discovery and Britt research so he can get her perspective on the situation. According to GH spoilers, Drew Kane may be in for an unpleasant surprise. Willow attended her wedding, but that does not imply she will complete her vows and marry him. Willow may cancel the wedding because Liz will be hosting a house guest later on. That may indicate Willow moving in as she figures out what's next in her life. Michael Corinthos will also have to make a difficult decision, so Willow may request to see the children when she finishes with Drew. We also know Tracy Quartermaine and Cody Bell will be pleased with some news in the future episodes, so they may rejoice in Drew's misery if the wedding fails. Willow will make a promise once they are back together. That may be to Michael, if he is still undecided about visitation, or it could be a furious vow to Drew. Willow could even promise herself that she will change her life and stop giving men like Drew this much control over her. Over with Nina, she will receive Curtis Ashford's apology as well as Portia Robinson's comfort. Nina will finally make a hidden move. But will it be an attempt to check on Willow or a revenge scheme against Drew? Carly will tell Jocelyn about her concerns about Vaughn now that Anna has expressed them. Brennan expects Jocelyn and Vaughn to be a convincing pair, so Joss will work hard to sell their relationship to Carly. Emma Scorpio Drake will also reveal some information to Giovanni Gio Palmieri, as they devise a plot to sneak inside Professor Hank Dalton's lab. Dante Falconeri plans to question Danny Morgan, and possibly find out where Rocco Falconeri's head is. Dante may want to know what Rocco is thinking, especially since he has been reaching out to Obrecht, and becoming increasingly obsessed with Britt. Rocco may continue bonding with Liesl from August 4th to 8th, despite Dante and Lulu Spencer's misgivings. If Obrecht indicates that Jason is seeking for an alive Britt, Rocco may feel hopeful. Rocco is clearly drawn to Britt, and he would welcome the opportunity to get to know her. Jason will continue to look for Britt's answers, so it will be fascinating to watch how long it takes him to hunt her down for a confrontation. Damian Spinelli could potentially help Jason meet Britt in Croatia down the road. Meanwhile, Jen Sidwell and Marco Rios plan to get rid of Sonny Corinthos, but he will not go down without a fight. The feud between Sonny and Sidwell is far from over, so we'll keep you updated on any additional dirty plays that occur. According to General Hospital spoilers, the following 2 weeks will be filled with intense confrontations and thrilling scenes, so stay tuned. General Hospital spoilers indicate that fans are eagerly anticipating a reunion between Jason Morgan and Britt Westbourne. They made magic together before they died, and now that they're both alive, wouldn't they be fantastic together? If you are a soap aficionado, you already know. The top reasons for Britt and Jason to reunite. Thiebaud confirmed to TV Insider that she is reprising her previous role. In the July 23rd episode, Jason and Carly Spencer concluded that Lyle Obrecht's return to town was not coincidental with Jason observing a woman who looked exactly like Britt. With all of this in mind, let's look at the top 3 reasons Jason needs to reunite. 1. Jason sees Britt. First and foremost, Jason has seen a side of Britt that no one else has, and as a result he believes in her. Even after all these years, he still protects her. This type of mindset may result in a us-against-the-world relationship for Jason and Britt, as they build their friendship, while fighting the narrow-minded inhabitants of PC. 2. Jason deserves love. Jason has been single for a long time, even when he died. So, it's understandable that supporters want to see him paired off and happy. Who else besides Britt could make Jason happy? Sure, she would bring the drama, but not the same level of angst as Carly. Furthermore, Britt is a professional who strives for something greater than meddling in people's lives. 3. Britt is Jason's ideal woman. As previously said, Britt is not flawless, But she is an excellent fit for Stone Cold, as they share a similar philosophy of life, an eye for an eye. She also has a soft side that she has demonstrated to Jason, which is why he adores her so much. Jason is a dark figure with a golden heart. In other words, Britt can deal with Jason and his gangster life. Some fans have even suggested that she left pregnant with Jason's baby, which would cause some timing issues, but this is a soap opera, so everything is possible. Explosive General Hospital spoilers tease jaw-dropping Britt revelations, and now it's your turn to share your thoughts on the Britt returning to PC in the comments section below. Make sure to stay up to date on everything happening at General Hospital right now. Come back regularly for the most recent GH updates, news and spoilers. Get comfortable and receive access to the best soap knowledge on the internet. Nina had always been a woman of secrets, but recently, the stakes had escalated beyond her control. The lingering regret over her decisions, which had already strained her relationships with Willow, Sunny and even Ava, was escalating, with potentially disastrous implications. Nina had been walking a tight line between redemption and deeper destruction, and now she had ventured into new territory that no one, including Sunny, could have predicted. She had made a secret move, motivated by desperation and terror. It wasn't simply about keeping herself safe anymore. It was about survival, emotional, social, and possibly even legal. Nina realized her quiet may be a disadvantage. Her actions regarding the SEC tip had already tarnished her reputation, and while she had narrowly avoided discovery thanks to Martin covering her tracks, that buffer was beginning to dwindle. Drew sniffed around, threatening her with arrogant looks and veiled accusations, so she understood she needed her own leverage. That's when she searched deep into her former contacts, uncovering a hidden piece of information from her time in Nixon Falls. A paper, a tape, something Jason had once buried, now resurrected to purchase her security. Meanwhile, Jason Morgan was dealing with his own troubles. His life had been in turmoil since his supposed resurrection from the dead. People who had once trusted him began to question him at every turn. Carly was not the same lady he had left behind. Sunny was more volatile than ever before. And worst of all, he no longer had Britt to guide him through the shadows. Her death continued to torment him. However, Britt's spirit was not the only lingering presence. She had left behind files containing medical, strategic and cryptic communications that she had surreptitiously passed on to Liz in case anything happened to her. Jason wasn't aware of them. Not yet. However, he would shortly do so. Jason, having become aware of Nina's increasingly secretive behavior, began to circle. He wasn't sure if he was following a lead, or simply attempting to stay ahead of something that felt strange. Nina had been seen with someone connected to a private facility Britt had examined. That facility had connections to Victor, and Jason couldn't shake the suspicion that Nina had discovered something vital, or something risky. He didn't want to believe she was involved, but he'd learned long ago that emotions obscure judgment, and confidence in Port Charles came at a cost. Elizabeth Weber was the only person who could help him right now. Liz had preserved Britt's final writings and encrypted voice memos. She had not informed anyone, not Finn Terry or her boys. It was a silent pledge to her late friend. When Jason showed up unexpectedly at her door one late evening, bruised and solemn, she didn't ask questions. She'd seen that expression before, one that cloaked pain with duty. He did not squander time. "I need your help," he continued, his voice low and graveled with exhaustion. Liz hesitated. "It's about Britt, and maybe Nina." Her loyalty to Britt was unwavering, but she felt confident Jason's intentions were not exploitative. Britt admired him most for his commitment to righting wrongs. She brought him to a locked cabinet in her closet and pulled out a thumb drive with only a violet, Britt's favorite color. They sat at the kitchen table, and Liz watched Jason load the files into her ancient laptop. What they discovered was alarming. Britt tracked Victor's offshore accounts and discovered a note for Liz. "If anything happens to me and Jason's back, tell him not everything died with me. Find room 7 in Harborview. It's not as it looks." Jason sat still. He remembered the term Harborview. It had previously served as a front for identity theft and illegal medical practices. If Britt discovered connections to Nina there, it could indicate Nina wasn't just protecting herself. She could be concealing something even more dangerous, potentially endangering others. But Liz brought up something that made him hesitate. One of the files contained a voice recording. It was not Britt's. It was Nina's. Jason listened. "I didn't want to do this," Nina said, her voice trembling. "But I had no choice. If this gets out, I'll lose Willow forever. I lose Sunny. But this isn't just about me." They were watching Britt. They understood what she was doing. I believe her research was exploited for other purposes. Something worse. If Jason finds out, I'm not sure what he'll do. Jason's hands tensed. This wasn't just Nina making a selfish move. It was someone using Britt's labor as a weapon. Nina, intentionally or not, had facilitated it. He needed answers, but he also needed to go cautiously. Sunny was already on edge, and finding out Jason was spying into Nina's affairs would produce another schism. One they would never recover from. So Jason did what he always does. He blends into the background, quietly follows the trail. Nina, unaware that her recording had resurfaced, made a brave step. She approached Valentine and offered to exchange a favor. She needed access to the WSB archives, which he still had control over. Valentine was skeptical but intrigued. He knew Nina was playing a dangerous game, one that could backfire on her. But he believed she was shielding someone else. Perhaps Willow. Perhaps Sasha. Perhaps even Sunny. Liz resumed deciphering the data once she returned to General Hospital. With Jason's help, she discovered one more clue. Patient logs, forged identities, and one name circled in red, Britt Westbourne. Someone had tracked her travels several months before she died. Whoever had done it had been one step ahead the entire time. They were moving again. Jason and Liz were in deeper than they expected. What began as a quiet favor has turned into a search for something hidden in Britt's legacy, and possibly the true cause of her premature death. The deeper they dug, the more they realized Nina might not be the puppet master she claimed to be. She might be a pawn. Or worse, bait. But Jason didn't intend to let her go. At least not until he knew the truth. And if it meant taking down the clinic, the hidden files, or whoever had coerced Nina into quiet, so be it. In the shadows of Port Charles, the past is never forgotten. And this time, the resurfacing of old secrets has the potential to tear everything apart. Jason and Britt's relationship has always walked a tight line between unexpected and unavoidable. Their personalities appear to be diametrically opposed. Jason Morgan, a man of few words but intense loyalty, works with precision and stoicism. Britt Westbourne, on the other hand, has built her career on snark, intellect, and a turbulent history filled with emotional wounds and questionable decisions. But when these two met, something changed, something deeper than flirtation, more significant than a fling. What began as a reluctant collaboration evolved into a bond that neither of them could have foreseen, but which both eventually valued and required. While their voyage was cut short due to sad circumstances, it raised the issue of whether Jason and Britt were genuinely destined for each other. Their shared moments were not filled with overblown romantic declarations, but rather with quiet understanding, mutual protection, and trust that arose from adversity. Britt enabled Jason to be more than just Sunny's enforcer. She saw the man with decades of sorrow in his eyes, bearing the weight of everyone else's troubles. And Jason, who seldom lets his guard down, let Britt inside that holy emotional space, treating her not as someone to mend but as someone worth loving, damaged bits included. Their bond, like so many of Jason's most important relationships, was formed under hardship. Britt, on the other hand, stood out for challenging him to live rather than simply survive. She never asked him to be something he wasn't. She wasn't expecting fairy tales or hero worship. Instead, she accepted and cherished him for who he was. Wounded, devoted, and morally ambiguous. Britt did not try to erase his history, but instead gave him an alternative future. One full of spontaneity, passion, and forgiveness. That's what makes their relationship feel less like a chance encounter, and more like fate manifesting itself in the most unexpected way. In the peaceful periods between missions and disasters, Jason and Britt discovered genuine delight. Their conversation, Britt's humorous jabs that softened Jason's generally austere countenance, and the rare instances when he broke a small smile all contributed to a compelling atmosphere. It was more than just attraction, it was about compatibility. Britt noticed the man, not just the mob hitman. And Jason saw the doctor, not just the britch. Their chemistry was not just physical, but also emotional, stemming from a genuine understanding of each other's wounds. Perhaps what impressed fans the most was Britt's willingness to allow Jason to express himself emotionally without fear of being judged. With her, he could mourn, think, and even question. She didn't try to fix his difficulties, but rather helped him through them. That kind of emotional sanctuary was unusual for Jason, who had spent the most of his life being everyone else's rock. And for Britt, who had a history of manipulation, desertion, and distrust, Jason provided stability and loyalty, characteristics she had sought her entire life. They depended on each other out of mutual respect, not desperation. Their relationship felt genuine, not forced. Every soft look, every protective gesture, and every risk Jason took for Britt was layered with complexity. Britt reciprocated in equal measure. She was not content with being a damsel in distress. She was his equal. Whether it was her medical knowledge saving lives or her fiery independence encouraging him to think differently, Britt lit a fire in Jason's life that few others could match. In exchange, Jason provided Britt with peace, a rare sense of safety that she had always sought. Their story was also about redemption. Britt, a heroine with a troubled history, found herself changing. Not because Jason demanded it, but because being with him motivated her to be better. She wanted to be worthy of him, not out of insecurity, but because he thought she already was. Even when others questioned her, her quiet belief in herself was strong. And for once, Jason did not enter into a relationship out of obligation or guilt. Britt offered a choice, raw, organic, and without pretense. He desired her. And in his environment where choice was frequently a luxury, it meant everything. Their intimate moments, ranging from passionate to extremely emotional, were marked by both urgency and gentleness. Every embrace alluded to the time they didn't have, and every glance contained hidden truths. They lived as if borrowed time was always ticking in the background, which it was. Britt's Huntington's diagnosis placed a pall over their burgeoning romance. But instead of withdrawing, Jason leaned in. That decision alone revealed everything fans needed to know about how much he cared. He regarded her as more than just a momentary getaway. He saw her as someone worth loving, no matter how short their time together. That's when their story took on sad beauty. They were two people who had both suffered tremendous loss and trauma, and opted to open their hearts despite the certainty of future agony. Britt wasn't simply a stopgap in Jason's life, and he wasn't just a rebound for her. They created a real space for one another, which is a rare and powerful feat in Port Charles's chaotic environment. When Jason made the ultimate sacrifice in Greece, Britt's anguish was palpable. Their time together was brief, but the impact was long-lasting. Their love story also felt unusually mature in a show dominated by young love triangles and fast-burning relationships. Jason and Britt's relationship was about healing, maturation, and mutual development. They did not play games. They didn't require third-party intervention to be relevant. Their greatest challenges were internal, emotional barriers, physical health, and the imminent danger of Jason's lifestyle. Despite these obstacles, they managed to create something tangible. In the face of uncertainty, they chose each other. And that decision felt substantial. Fans frequently debate who Jason's true love really is. Some pointed to Sam, others to Carly, but Britt was unique. She didn't bring with her years of emotional turmoil or family baggage, which could have harmed the relationship. Britt provided refreshing clarity. They started again, created something fresh, and constructed a foundation based on current choices rather than previous regrets. And while past relationships in Jason's life were typically based on allegiance to Sonny or the Corinthos family, Britt stood outside of that dynamic, allowing their passion to flourish freely. Even after Jason's assumed death, Britt carried his love with her. She didn't crumble beneath the weight of sadness. Instead, she respected their bond by continuing to live with courage and heart. Formed and changed her. Jason, in turn, left a legacy of loving someone completely, honestly, and without reservation for the first time in years. In the midst of the chaos, they discovered each other. Even if time was snatched from them, what they had was genuine. Britt also revealed a side of Jason that fans hadn't seen in a long time. They were humorous in their banter, vulnerable in their quiet moments, and passionate without feeling mechanical or formulaic. Jason allowed himself to become more than just a silent protector. Britt was a man rediscovering how to live, feel, and hope. It was subtle yet powerful. Britt didn't force him to change. She simply gave him room to grow. Their partnership did not require extravagant gestures or storybook weddings to demonstrate its worth. It was in the details, the way he touched her face, the way she taunted him with a smirk, the way they trusted one another in the midst of a gunfight or a hospital corridor. They were partners in every sense of the term. In a program where relationships frequently succumb to melodrama, theirs stood out as real and emotionally rich. In the end, what made Jason and Britt feel fated was not chemistry or situation, but timing. They met at the ideal emotional crossroads, when they were both shattered enough to be honest, yet strong enough to rebuild. They didn't promise each other forever because they both knew how fleeting life could be. But what they gave one another, truth, loyalty, and genuine love, was more powerful than any wedding promise or romantic cliché. Their narrative may have ended far too quickly, but the impact it had on General Hospital and its admirers endures. In their brief time together, they provided viewers with a genuine, imperfect, and fascinating relationship. A love created in chaos, honed in silence, and sealed with pain. That's why, despite the show's countless love triangles, shifting alliances, and rewritten histories, Jason and Britt still feel like they were meant to be together. Not because the world granted them time, but because they made every moment count.